Part 1. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 1. In the sparkling sea, an island full of prosperity and noise is located at the intersection of major routes. On the island, the bustling streets are full of people coming and going. Rog Town is located at the entrance of the Grand Route, so pirates who want to go to the Grand Route must pass through here. There is an endless stream of people in the town, and the shops are filled with all kinds of goods from all over the world. Pirates also visited here frequently, but except for the best among them, the rest were captured and imprisoned by the navy stationed here. In the courtyard of an orphanage in a remote part of town. "Hey, Roger! Hurry up, we're going shopping!" An old man with a white beard shouted. "Well, here we come." A strong-bodied young man with brown hair, about 4 years old, hurried over and got on the carriage. Sitting in the back half of the dilapidated carriage, with the uncle in front driving the horse, the dilapidated carriage began to drive toward the town. The dilapidated carriage drove all the way into the town. Rog Town was bustling with traffic and people coming and going, and merchants selling various goods were hawking on both sides of the street. But when everyone saw this dilapidated carriage, they all looked at it with disdain. Rog, who was sitting on the dilapidated carriage, looked at everything around him and fell into thinking. "It's been a year since I came to this world, but I didn't expect that there are still not many ways out." That's right, Rog was reborn through time travel. In the originally normal world, he fell unconscious after a car accident. After waking up, he found himself in an orphanage on an island. After merging the memories of his past life with this reborn body, he discovered that this was actually his own world of one piece. Just when I was excited about traveling through time, I found that my situation was really bad. The body after rebirth is named Rog. He was an orphan since he was a child. He was named Rog by the people at the orphanage because he was picked up in Rog Town. What makes me even more disappointed is that since I traveled through time, I don't have any golden fingers. For example, in the various anime novels I read in my previous life, there wasn't a single golden finger in it. Although this One Piece world has infinite possibilities, it does not have its own world. Thinking of this, Rog felt annoyed for a while. "Oh my god, it's unfair. Since I'm reborn, you want me to be a big shot. Why not be reborn as Nanami Takeshi? Why not be reborn as a naval admiral? Why not be reborn as the Straw Hat Boy?" But there is no solution to complaining. Fortunately, the most basic thing now is that I can have food to eat. Rog is now considered an employee of the orphanage, and is usually responsible for purchasing the supplies needed by the orphanage. After walking for a while, the dilapidated carriage finally arrived at a cheap store in Rog Town. The white-bearded uncle in charge of driving and Roger got off the dilapidated carriage. "Remember, Roger. Today we need to take advantage of the cheap food here to buy more. I brought 5,000 belly to buy enough food, vegetables, and some milk. After all, the children in the orphanage still need to grow," said the white-bearded uncle. "Okay, I remember," Rog said. This white-bearded uncle is named John, and he is the director of the orphanage. Of course, this white beard is not that white beard. That white beard is the 4 emperors who are powerful in the world, but this white beard uncle is just the director of the Rog Town orphanage. 35XS. But he always boasted that he and Whitebeard were distant relatives. Of course, everyone in the town regarded him as a joke and something to talk about after dinner. In the store, the white-bearded uncle finally made a deal with the store owner after shrewd bargaining. "Okay, put all these on the carriage," the white-bearded uncle said, pointing to a pile of selected products. "There are about 10 bags of flour, several boxes of fruits and vegetables, and milk." Okay. Rog began to carry these commodities, which was quite easy when he had nothing to do. Once you have this kind of purchase, it takes a lot of effort. After a while of hard work, the panting Rog got back on the carriage. The white-bearded uncle started driving back to the orphanage. After returning to the orphanage, we stopped in front of this half-new building. Okay, Rog. I need to redo the accounting, you take care of these things, Uncle Whitebeard said to Rog, and returned to the orphanage. Rog began to sort out the purchased grains, vegetables, fruits, and milk. I've been doing this for a year, but it can't always be like this. I need to find other ways to do it in the future, Rog said while working. In this world where pirates are raging, all kinds of strong people emerge in endlessly. Some people have acquired strength no less than those with devil fruit abilities through their hard work. But how can it be so easy? That kind of people only come from thousands of miles away, and they also need many opportunities to achieve success. Of course, Rog decided to continue working as an employee at this orphanage for 2 years and then find a way to join the Navy or become a pirate. But it must be very hard. If you want to get ahead, it must be very hard. Huh? Why is this box so light? Could it be that the boss lied and underloaded it? Roger suddenly discovered that a wooden box containing fruits and vegetables was very light and unusual. There seemed to be only one fruit inside. What's going on? Rog opened the lid of the wooden box, but his eyes were stunned for an instant. Inside the wooden box is a purple fruit with patterns. Devil fruit. It's absolutely true. After he was reborn, he got a devil fruit illustrated book. After looking at the devil fruit many times, the one in front of him was definitely real. Rog took out the purple patterned fruit with trembling hands and looked at it repeatedly for a long time. Oh my God, God still favors me. Rog quickly looked around to make sure there was no one else around. Then Rog took this devil fruit and hurried to a hidden woods behind the orphanage. Now that you have obtained the devil fruit, don't hesitate at all and eat it immediately. Rog began to peel off the outer skin of the purple fruit. Devil fruit is a precious item that is rarely obtained by world governments. Once you get it, it doesn't matter what your ability is, just eat it as soon as possible. It's just turned into a weight and can't dive into the sea. Holding his breath, Rog gulped down the pulp inside the fruit. As for the taste, Rog didn't dare to think about it. After devouring it for a while, the devil fruit was finally eaten down to its outer skin. Rog even swallowed the outer skin just to be on the safe side. Huh, I finally finished eating. After eating the devil fruit, I suddenly felt an extremely uncomfortable nausea. This devil fruit is truly unpalatable. No matter how you describe the taste, sweet, sour, spicy and salty are not included. Just one word, evil. The taste is evil, but how can I spit out the devil fruit after finally eating it? Rog tried his best to forget everything, and waited for a long time for the devil fruit in his stomach to be digested before he stood up and walked again. What kind of ability it is, you need to understand it slowly. After eating the devil fruit, the ability is not immediately reflected in the mind. But I felt a very strange idea in my subconscious, which was probably the ability of the devil fruit. You need to work hard to understand it. After staying in this small forest for an unknown amount of time, Rog gradually realized the power of the devil fruit. He stretched out his hand to the grass in the woods. As I concentrated, the weeds began to grow noticeably. The same goes for other plants, such as flowers and shrubs. It turns out it has an effect on plants, and this is actually a plant fruit. Rog also didn't expect that this was actually a legendary plant fruit. The plant fruit was a legendary devil fruit. People with fruit abilities can control plant growth and transform plants. Fortunately, it's not a bad ability, plant fruit. It seems that I need to make good use of it in the future. Now Rog finally has the capital to make a big splash in this world. But even so, you still need to work hard on your own. After everything feels better, look at the sky again. The sun has already set in the west. I still need to think carefully about the future path, and then go back first. Roger then returned to the front of the orphanage, finished the unfinished work, and then returned to his room. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, A Dream. Chapter 2. In bed at night, Roger kept thinking about his life. Should we continue to join the Navy? Rog was thinking over and over again. The Navy is an extremely powerful force, it can even be said to be the most powerful. Moreover, the Navy has high discipline and strong intelligence. However, even those with fruit abilities may not be so successful in the Navy. There are many people with fruit abilities in the Navy, but there are only a few people who can reach high positions. In the Navy, you definitely still need to keep an eye on people's faces. If you want to be a pirate, you have to take a lot of risks. And now the world government is looking for ways to vigorously purge pirates. What's more important is that I am not a guy who robs ordinary people. I don't want to be the kind of person who does all kinds of evil. Could it be that you use this ability to become a businessman? Use it to do some botanical research and make a fortune? While thinking over and over, Rog's eyes fell on the calendar in the room. June 15, 22, 6 in the Haiwan calendar. It is now the year 1522 of the Hainan calendar, according to the memory of One Piece in the previous life. This was the year Luffy entered the Grand Line. Luffy. The Grand Line? Thinking of this, Rog had an idea in his mind. If there is anyone who can do something spectacular in this world, and do it extremely fast, then it must be the Straw Hat Pirates. It's better to let me hang out with the Straw Hats. Rog thought about this and felt confident. After a while of snoring, Roger fell into a dream. Time flies, time passes day by day. The time has arrived on September 15, 22, 9 in the Haiwan calendar. In the Judiciary Square of Rogtown, a towering execution platform stood in front of the SEMA building. Net. This execution platform is where the Pirate King Roger was executed. Over the years, countless people have come to watch. And the pirates who yearn for Roger all want to see with their own eyes the execution platform where the Pirate King was once executed. In a coffee shop near the execution square, many local people were talking about recent events. Have you heard? The pirate fleet Admiral Creek was defeated, a man wearing a hat said. Ah, I heard that too. Admiral Creek was defeated. And a few days ago, the fishman Arlong and his pirate group were also defeated. The one who defeated them was a boy named Luffy. Another man in a coat said. Yes, this Luffy has a bounty of 3,000 million berries at such a young age. It's simply unbelievable, the man in the hat said. But, what if they get here, said the man in the coat. Don't be afraid, this is the area under the jurisdiction of Colonel Smoky Smoke. He has not let a single pirate escape from Rogue Town. After all, this is the only way to enter the Grand Route, and the Navy also pays attention to it, said the man in the hat. On a table nearby, a brown-haired boy was holding a coffee cup and looking at the wanted poster on the table in front of him. The wanted poster shows Luffy wearing a straw hat with a sunny smile on his face, and below is a bounty of up to 3,000 million berries. It's almost time. It should be within a few days. Roger put down the coffee cup and looked at Luffy on the wanted poster more carefully. The man who can turn the world upside down is finally here, as well as the people with different personalities in the pirate group. After receiving the news that the Aaron pirates had been defeated, Rog came to Judiciary Square from time to time. Net. Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, Nami, Usopp, I really don't know what your expressions will be like when I see you. Roger continued to order a cup of coffee and drank it. On this day, a small pirate ship sailed to the coast of Rogtown. A group of young men and women set foot on the land of this town. The leading boy wearing a straw hat stretched out his arms and looked excitedly at the bustling town in front of him. It's such a big town. Did the pirate era begin here? The straw hat boy, Monkey D. Luffy, looked at everything in front of him with interest. I want to buy some food and take a look at the beautiful women. Sanji, a handsome blonde man with a cigarette in his mouth, said. Then I want to go collect equipment. Usopp, who has a long nose, said. Sauron, the sharp-eyed swordsman, put his chin in his hand and said, I also want to buy something. Nami, who had an exaggerated and perfect figure, looked at Zorro with smiling eyes and said, okay, I can lend you money. But you need to pay it back with triple interest. Luffy, who was full of energy at the front, said, I want to see the execution platform. Luffy and his group walked into Rog Town and began their respective goals. On the same day, two groups of pirates arrived in the same boat. The two groups of pirates entered this prestigious town and began searching for their common enemy. I didn't expect it to be so prosperous here. A beautiful woman in a pink robe walked elegantly through the streets of the town, followed by a group of people in cloaks. Hey, Arita. We're not here to see the scenery, a man with a red nose said. Arita looked at him and said, Captain Bucky, I know what our goal is. As long as you know, I will definitely chop off that Straw Hat boy's head. At this point, Bucky gritted his teeth. A man riding a lion was a little impatient. He asked Bucky, Captain Bucky, why do we have to cover our faces with cloaks? It's so awkward. Wouldn't it be more conspicuous if I rode a lion? Bucky glared at him fiercely and said, there are many people riding lions, but I only have one, Captain Bucky. Also, it's time for you to get down. Let me ride for a while. Captain Bucky and Arita joined forces to destroy their common enemy, Straw Hat Luffy. In the police station of Rog Town, a naval communications soldier was running urgently in the corridor. When he rushed to the office door, he almost fell down. Come in. After hearing the knock on the door, a calm and resolute voice said from inside. The naval communications officer opened the door of the office, which was filled with unimaginable smoke. This is not caused by other items, but the powerful smoke smell of cigars. In the thick smoke that was almost invisible, a pair of oppressive eyes stared at the naval communications soldier. As the door opened, the thick smoke from the cigar dissipated quickly. Soon, a burly man with an upper body was sitting on the sofa, holding up a pile of stones with his hands and smoking two thick cigars in his mouth. The aura on his body was even more chilling. Colonel Smoker, we have urgent information, the naval communications officer said after saluting. Smoker said nothing and remained motionless, and those eyes seemed to order him to report quickly. The headquarters received an urgent call. The pirate Monkey D. Luffy and his gang recently marched towards Rogue Town. They defeated Admiral Creek and the Fishman Aaron. The reward amount now reaches 3,000 million berries, the highest reward amount in the East China Sea region. Pirates. The naval communications personnel reported the situation almost in succession. Calm down, you can get into such a panic over just one thing. But who are you talking about offering a bounty of 3,000 million berries? Smoker's rich voice said. Monkey D. Luffy, the Straw Hat Pirates, offer a bounty of 3,000 million berries. The Marine Communications Corpsman repeated it again. The bounty is 3,000 million berry, which is really high. The pile of stones in Smoker's hand fell down immediately. Smoker immediately stood up, walked to the window and opened it, and the thick smoke in the room dissipated faster. Is that all about him? Smoker asked, turning around and getting dressed. Even with clothes on, his burly figure is still difficult to hide. According to intelligence, they are likely to arrive today, Naval Signal Corps reported. Well, I understand. And you have to remember that the Navy under me must be calm at all times. Don't panic just because something suddenly happens, Smoker said to him, his eyes it is full of majesty. Yes, sir, the Marine Sign Alman said. There was another sound of footsteps, and a Navy sergeant came to the office, saluted and hurriedly reported. Sir, there's an emergency. Two pirate ships were spotted docking. Smoker asked, two ships? Yes, one of them is suspected to be from the Straw Hat Pirates, and the other is suspected to be from the Bucky Pirates, Navy sergeant reported. Smoker took out his weapon from the room, a 10-handed sword made of sea stone. Here we come, the guy with a bounty of 3,000 million berries. It might be interesting to kill him. But Captain Bucky happened to be here too, so there are quite a lot of things going on today. Smoker put Hala's shishi behind his back. Walked out of the office. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 3. Roger, who was in a cafe next to Justice Square, walked out of the cafe and walked toward a nearby house that was very close to Justice Square. Net. Arriving under the house, Rog rolled up his sleeves, revealing a thumb-thick vine hidden in his sleeves. Now is the time to use your devil fruit powers. Look at this vine whip. Rog concentrated his will and aimed the vines in his cuffs at the top of the house. The originally short vines grew rapidly, and a single vine grew like a grappling hook and caught on the top of the house. Under his own control, the vines brought him up again like a grappling hook. With this vine hidden in his sleeve, Roger easily reached the top of the house. It's good to have the ability. The scenery here is also good. The house below is about 8 stories high, and the surrounding scenery is pretty good. And it is relatively close to the execution platform above the Justice Square. That kid Luffy is so curious that he will definitely come back here. And it probably happened in the past few days. Rog planned to take a look here now, because after all, he also had to deal with the red-nosed Bucky, Arita, and even the smoking Colonel Smoker, the Navy commander guarding Rogtown. If you're dealing with Luffy, it would be best to wait here. But it was actual combat after all, after he gained the Devil Fruit ability. He often fought against some gangsters in Rogtown and accumulated a certain amount of experience. But facing Captain Bucky, powerful pirates like Arita, Colonel Smokey, and the Navy will be a test. Rog has now combined the ability of plant fruits with his own research on combat skills that can use a variety of plants. Vine Whip is his favorite skill. The vines in his sleeves have been modified by his fruit ability and can grow and shorten at will. Besides climbing, they have many other uses. Then he touched the several modified plants he carried with him, and they all had extraordinary abilities. Looking up at the sky at this time, it was still clear over Rogtown. However, a dark cloud was moving in the sky from the west. On the other hand, Luffy and his gang who entered Rogtown were doing their own thing. Nami went shopping for high-quality and cheap clothing in the store, Sanji bought an exaggeratedly huge elephant-nosed fish, Usopp purchased various things he needs as a brave sea warrior, and Roronoa find the right blade for him. At the Judiciary Square in Rogue Town, Luffy finally arrived here after feasting in a restaurant and asking around. Go to see his target, the place where Roger, the former Pirate King, was executed. In the Plaza de Justice, the execution towers over the front of the Justice building. Luffy, who was wearing a straw hat, couldn't wait to see this and rushed over. Walking to the front of the execution platform, Luffy looked up at the tall execution platform and said, "Well, it must be nice to stand on top and enjoy the scenery." Next, Luffy used his rubber man skills, stretched his arms towards the top of the execution platform, grabbed it, and carried it over. Standing above the tall execution platform, Luffy held down his straw hat and looked at the surrounding scenery. Wow, this is the scene that the Pirate King saw before he was executed. Just as Luffy was standing on the execution platform, Rog also spotted him on the rooftop. It's really him, Luffy. Rog saw Luffy with his own eyes and felt a little excited. Although he was a little far away from the execution platform, he could still see Luffy clearly. And it is even more confirmed that today is that crucial day. Then the crisis we faced before will also come. It seems that we need to face Captain Bucky and Arita, Rog said. Roger took out a sunflower from his clothes. This sunflower was no different from an ordinary sunflower. But it can launch extremely powerful attacks. Putting the sunflower on his shoulder, Roger always paid attention to the movements in the square. Under the square, several pirates discovered Luffy standing on the execution platform. Report to Captain Bucky quickly. Crowds surged in the square. This was the place where the Pirate King was executed. Almost everyone who came to Rogtown from other places came here to visit. Soon, the police maintaining order discovered Luffy on the execution platform and rushed to stop him. Hey! Come down quickly. I'm the policeman in charge here. That's a special execution platform managed by the world government. You can't stand there. A policeman raised his horn and shouted to Luffy on the execution platform. Don't say such unreasonable things, Mr. Policeman. The scenery here is very good, Luffy said to the policeman easily. Then arrest him. At this moment, a huge mace flying from the side hit the policeman in the face. The policeman immediately rolled to the side with blood and flesh flying everywhere. Mr. Police, please step aside. A tall woman holding a mace and wearing a white sun hat walked to the front of the execution platform. The woman looked up at Luffy on the execution platform, and asked in an elegant and calm tone, "You haven't forgotten my face, have you, Luffy?" Luffy on the execution platform looked at the woman strangely. 35XS. The woman has black hair, charming red lips, a sense of elegance between her eyebrows, and her skin is extremely smooth and delicate. No description of beauty can adequately describe her. When people around her saw the woman, they were so shocked that they wanted to beat their hearts out. Okay, so beautiful. Simply a stunning beauty. So beautiful. But Luffy on the execution platform was confused. He looked at the woman for a long time before saying, "I don't know you." The woman continued elegantly, "I will never forget you, because you are the first man to hit my beautiful face. I beat you. I can't remember." Luffy frowned. "At that time, your punch made my heart beat." While the woman was stroking her face and belly, her tone and demeanor made the crowd in the square almost have nosebleeds. "Let me ask you, who is the most beautiful person in the sea?" the woman asked. "It's you," the crowd in the square replied unanimously. "Yes, that's me. There's not a man in this world who won't fall under my skirt. And I like strong men, so Luffy, I want you to be my man." The woman's eyes can simply turn people's heads. The soul is taken away. A group of police officers quickly arrived and surrounded the place. "Woman over there, we're arresting you for obstructing official business." "And the guy on the execution platform?" The woman gave them a heart-stopping look. "The lady is beautiful. Sir, she is so. You are indeed, so beautiful. So what if it's not beautiful? Arrest her." At this moment, a violent explosion suddenly occurred in the fountain pool in the Judiciary Square. "Oh my God, a terrorist bomb attack." After the fountain was blown up, the stones flew around, with the tip and the main part flying towards the woman. The damaged fountain pool part flew towards her. About to hit, dangerous. While everyone was on tenterhooks, the woman was calm and composed. The moment the top of the fountain pool touched her, it slid to the side, hitting a nearby building and making a big hole in the building. At this time, with a burst of ferocious laughter, a group of people in cloaks came over. "Please, it's too dangerous for you to be like this," the woman said to one of them. "Hee, you are not afraid. With your smooth skin, you are unscathed," a sinister voice said. "Isn't that right, beautiful lady, Arita?" "Arita? Where is Arita?" Luffy looked around on the execution platform, but couldn't find him. "I am Arita," Arita shouted from under the execution platform. Luffy looked down at Alita. The fat ant in his original memory disappeared and was replaced by a tall beauty with delicate skin. But the huge mace in her hand still reminded Luffy. Indeed, but the appearance has definitely changed. Arita's face below was full of charm, and she said happily, "I became like this after eating a devil fruit. The fruit is called the slippery fruit, and after eating it, my skin becomes like this. No matter what kind of attack I receive, it can't hurt my beautiful skin. It's a pity that my beauty has not changed much, but the freckles seem to have disappeared. In search of you, I joined forces with this group of people. Beside Arita, a group of people wearing cloaks suddenly appeared. With a burst of clown-like evil laughter, the group of people threw up their cloaks. It was Captain Bucky the Clown and his pirate crew members who were dressed like a circus. Bucky looked at Luffy on the execution platform full of pride and hatred. Monkey D. Luffy. Ever since the day I was beaten away by you, I have always wanted revenge. With complete will, even though my body was missing arms, legs, and a belly, I finally returned to my beloved pirate group. After a thrilling adventure, Bucky finally returns as the king. Luffy on the execution platform raised his chin, thought for a while and then said casually, "It's so boring, who did I think it was? It turns out to be Beiji. Asshole. It's Bucky." "Forget it, today is your death day anyway," Bucky said furiously. After the Bucky pirates revealed their true colors, the crowd in the square panicked for a while. "It's Bucky. It's Bucky the pirate," the crowd ran away in panic. "Citizens, don't panic. Stay where you are. Today, I'm going to let you see the true horror of this uncle." The members of the Buggy Pirates began firing their guns into the sky to scare the crowd. Luffy, who was on the execution platform, was suddenly pressed down by a wooden shackle falling from the sky. "It hurts." Luffy looked up suddenly and saw a tall, thin man with half of his face covered sitting on the wooden shackles. "Good job, Kabeji," Bucky said happily. Sitting on the wooden shackle is acrobatic Kabeji, the chief of staff of the Buggy Pirates. "Long time no see, Rubber Man." "Also, is Roronoa Zoro okay?" Kabeji said. Bucky said enthusiastically to the trapped Luffy, "Now I will publicly execute you. It will be your honor to die in the same place as the Pirate King." Rog, who was on a nearby building, also saw the scene at this time. Now it was time to attack. Now Bucky is so rampant that he has jumped on the execution platform and loudly proclaimed himself crazily. Even if he finally gets the prey, he won't kill it right away. However, Bucky, his men and Arita are all very powerful, so going up directly would still be risky. Rog is waiting for the best time to take action. On the other hand, Navy Captain Smoker and others also learned of the situation and rushed to the aid of Judiciary Square. The other members of the Straw Hat Pirates also finished what they were supposed to do and wanted to meet up with Luffy. Bucky roared on the execution platform and fell into his own narcissism. As if he was the most successful pirate in the world. Rog pointed the sunflower on his shoulder at the execution platform, and Bucky on the execution platform began to draw out the machete and prepare to start the execution. "The sinner, Monkey D. Luffy, committed the crime of violating my uncle and is sentenced to death," Bucky shouted. The pirate group members below were having a great time partying. "This is the first time I've seen someone being executed," Luffy, who was pinned down by wooden shackles, said simply. "Idiot, you are the one to be executed," Bucky shouted. "What?" Luffy said in surprise. At this moment, the sunflower on Rog's shoulder was pointed at Bucky, who was arrogant on the execution platform, and the flower part of the sunflower began to generate high temperature. "Bucky. Try this, sunshine and fire." Sunflower shot a scorching straight flame and hit Bucky, who was on the execution platform. "Ah!" With a scream, Bucky was hit by the sun's flames and rolled under the execution platform. The members of the Buggy Pirates and Arita looked at Bucky, who rolled down in shock. Bucky's whole body was scorched black, as if he had been burned by fire. "Captain Bucky. Who is it?" Kabeji, who had sharp eyes, quickly looked at the top of the building where the sunlight had just hit, and found Rog there. "It looks like someone is causing trouble." "I'm going to deal with him," Kabeji said. "Do you need my help, Arita asked. Bucky is our captain, so we naturally want to take revenge ourselves, Kabeji said. Kabeji then conjured his unicycle under his feet and a knife in his hand, which was completely acrobatic. The acrobat stepped on a unicycle and quickly rushed to the building where Roger was. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 4. Rog was on the roof and saw that his position was exposed. It seems I need to fight them, but Luffy hasn't been liberated yet. I need another sunfire. The sunflower on Rog's shoulder became hot again and he aimed it at the execution platform in the distance. This time it didn't require much energy. He only needed to burn the wooden shackles on Luffy's body. Sunshine and flames. Sunflower hit the execution platform with another scorching flame. This time he succeeded in burning the wooden shackles on Luffy's body. Okay, it's successful, Rog was very happy now. But there was a loud screeching sound, and a man on a unicycle rushed straight from the wall of the building to the roof with a machete. The opponent's movements were astonishing and dexterous, and he landed the wheelbarrow firmly in front of Rog. Kabeji looked at Rog, and in front of him was a young man with brown hair and a strong body. Hey, it's your kid. How dare you attack our captain? Bucky Kabeji pointed the machete in his hand at Rog. Rog looked directly at Kabeji, the chief of staff of the Bucky Pirates, a swordsman who covered the left half of his face with long hair. Look at the sunflower on the shoulder. It fires 2 bursts of sunlight flames from a distance. I am afraid it will take a while to recover before it can continue to fight. Then other modified plants will be needed to fight. Yes, indeed. I see that Captain Bucky is unhappy, so let's teach him a lesson here, Rog said. Okay, you kid still doesn't know how to repent. Then I will avenge Captain Bucky and use your blood to appease his anger, Kabeji said. The vine whip hidden in Rog's sleeve is already ready to go. Meanwhile, on top of the execution platform. Cough, cough, cough. Where did the flames come from, and it's still straight? It burned me into a mess, but luckily the wooden shackles were also destroyed. Luffy patted the black ashes on his body and stood up. Under the execution platform, Bucky was completely charred, and some members of the pirate group were helping him heal. Captain Bucky, don't die. Captain Bucky, you are our backbone. Captain Bucky, if you die, the pirates will really be doomed. Captain Bucky, it took a lot of effort for you to come back. We don't want to lose you again. Every member of the Buggy Pirates had tears streaming down their face, crying and stamping their feet. 35XS. The liberated Luffy saw Bucky below and said, "Hey, Big Nose. Stop pretending to be dead." As soon as he finished speaking, Bucky, who was still lying on the ground, immediately turned over and stood up angrily. "Who are you calling a big nose?" Bucky yelled at Luffy angrily. The crying pirates around him immediately cried with joy, their tears became even more exaggerated, and they hugged Bucky suddenly. "Captain Bucky, we know you won't die." Bucky quickly pushed the others away and said, "Let go." He immediately asked the others, "Who attacked just now?" "Someone from Straw Hat." "This is not clear yet, but Kabeji went to deal with him," a pirate said. "Okay, when Kabeji captures him, I will cut him into pieces," Bucky said through gritted teeth. But Bucky immediately looked at Luffy standing on the execution platform. "Straw Hat Boy, since someone is helping you, then I will duel with you in an upright manner." "Okay, I knocked you away once, and it will be the same this time," Luffy moved his body and said. Bucky grabbed a machete from each of the 2 nearby pirates. His hand immediately detached itself from his arm and hung in the air. Split into 2 pieces. Luffy also stretched his arm back to charge up his strength. Rubber rocket launcher. At this time, Kabeji and Rog were also involved in a fierce battle. On the roof, Kabeji swung his machete and stabbed Rog in the throat. Rog stretched out his arm and shot out a vine whip from his cuffs. The vine whip quickly stretched out and whipped towards Kabaji's arm. Kabaji swung his machete towards the vine whip, but found that the vine whip was extremely elastic and almost impossible to cut. What? Rog's vine whip quickly wrapped around Kabaji's knife-holding arm. Rog's vine whip tugged hard, almost knocking Kabaji off his wheelbarrow. But Kabaji was a superb acrobat. He quickly got off the unicycle and stabilized his body. Kabaji's knife-holding arm was tightly entangled with the vine whip, and Rog also shot out a vine whip from the sleeve of his other hand, this time tying up Kabaji's entire body. 35xs. Okay, you really have some skills, kid. No wonder you dare to attack our Captain Bucky. The half of Kabaji's face that was not covered showed an extremely cunning expression. Also, why did you attack Captain Bucky? Are you with Straw Hat and the others? Kabaji asked again. Not yet, Rog said. Suddenly, Kabaji, who was only tied up with the vine whip, suddenly escaped from his shell and came out quickly. The arms and body are freed from the shackles of the vine whip. Don't think that these can restrain me. I am a world-class acrobat, Kabaji said. Kabaji waved his arm and immediately flew out more than 20 sharp darts. Acrobatic sharp darts. These darts are called darts, but the needle parts are as long as daggers. The vine whip stretched out from Rog's sleeves quickly retracted and reorganized. Vine whip defense net. The vine whip quickly weaved into a vine net in front of him in the blink of an eye. More than 20 sharp darts hit the vine net hard. The vine net only trembled violently for a while, but successfully resisted the attack. The vine net quickly returned to its original shape and threw away the darts at the same time. Haha, your vines are still very interesting. No matter how good my acrobatics are, I can't reach this point. Kabaji smiled sinisterly and expressed appreciation. I am Vine Whip, which was transformed from the fruit's ability. Of course it is very powerful, Rog said. Kabaji was silent for a moment and said, it turns out that you are also a fruit ability user like Straw Hat Boy. But even so, I have to show you my true ability. Kabaji got back on his unicycle and pedaled quickly with both feet. Kabaji surrounded Rog's body and moved rapidly around with Rog as the center. Soon, countless missile phantoms appeared in Kabaji's figure. Haha, guess which one is my true body, Kabaji said. Suddenly, Roger felt a sharp pain in his back. Pulling it out by hand, it turned out to be a dart. The tip of the dart was as long as a finger, and it was very painful to insert it into the body. Next, it will hurt you even more. Suddenly, a machete stabbed out from among the surrounding Kabaji phantoms. The knife stabbed Rog's chest. This time Rog's vine whip reacted quickly and formed a vine net directly in front of his chest, blocking the blow. Stop playing your tricks. The vine whips in Rog's hands were centered on himself and swung degrees around him. Kabaji also quickly retreated back, and the surrounding phantoms disappeared. Rog looked at Kabaji with an angry look and said, I'm serious about coming with you. Then the vine in Rog's hand was thrown towards Kabaji. Kabaji relied on the powerful ability of an acrobat to quickly dodge. He jumped off the roof and returned to the square. Rog chased after him. Vine Whip grabbed the roof and threw himself down. Rog and Kabaji began fighting in the Square of Justice. At this time, Luffy and Bucky were fighting inextricably in the Judiciary Square. Arita basically watched the fight from the sidelines. She wanted to see who would win between the man she liked and Bucky. Come on, Luffy. Don't let me down, Arita shouted. Asshole, you actually want to cheer him on, Bucky said angrily after the battle. Arita still said elegantly, I've fallen in love with him, so it's natural to cheer for him. Huh. Arita suddenly discovered that Kabaji, who had just been chasing him, was now fighting with a young man wielding vines. Is that the attacker? Arita looked at Rog gracefully and said. Rog was fighting with Kabaji at this time, and Kabaji's movements had to be said to be flexible. However, it took Kabaji a lot of effort to avoid the vine whip. In the end, he was defeated, and Kabaji's body was tied up with the vine whip again. "Don't worry, I won't give you another chance to escape this time," Rog said, holding the vine whip tightly with both hands. Rog looked at the sunflower on his shoulder. This time he was completely ready. "Fire sunflower, sun blaze." A straight line of flames shot out from the sunflower on the shoulder and hit Kabaji, who was about to escape. Wow! With a scream, Kabaji was hit by the sun's flames, and his whole body rolled and fell like a scorch. Arita was a little shocked when she saw Rog's attack. Although she was not afraid of melee attacks, she couldn't avoid being hit by such a direct attack. Luffy and Buggy, who were fighting, were entangled and pressed on the body of Kabaji, who was knocked down. "Damn it! Isn't this Kabaji?" Bucky said when he saw Kabaji being suppressed underneath him. Bucky's eyes quickly turned to Rog. "Ah, it turns out it's you." "It's me you attacked," Bucky roared with a ferocious face. "Oh? It's you." Luffy also looked at Rog. This simple boy with exaggerated eyes looked Rog up and down. "Well, I see. So it was you who saved me from the execution platform just now, right?" "Thank you very much," Luffy said to Rog. "Nothing," Rog said. "But your attack was so intense that it almost scorched me." "But it's okay," Luffy said again. Bucky stood up again, and then looked at Rog and Luffy fiercely. "I'm going to kill both of you," Bucky roared angrily. Bucky looked at Arita aside and said, "Help me too. I'll deal with the Straw Hat, and you kill that kid." Arita looked at Rog and said elegantly, "My favorite is Luffy, I can also do the work for others." Rog watched this beautiful woman with a devilish figure walk towards him. "Oh, you are also a handsome young man with a strong body. But I already have someone I like." "Well, I don't have to kill you, but after I win you, you will be my servant from now on." Arita looked at Rog with charming eyes and said, "Thank you for your kindness, but I don't appreciate it." Rog refused. Arita could still look at Rog with charming eyes. Her beauty was simply breathtaking. "Another man who needs training, let me teach you a lesson." Although his words were offensive, his tone was simply irresistible. The crowd of people watching around me had their noses bleed countless times. "Then madam, I agree," Rog said. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, A Dream. Chapter 5. Rog stared at Arita in front of him. Arita was also a user with fruit abilities. Even with a single attack, her defense is simply unimaginable. Arita said elegantly, "Are you still very graceful? Then I will go first." Arita's body rushed towards Rog like a skate. Rog quickly retreated, grabbed the bottom of the execution platform with the vine whip in his hand, and led him over. Squirting and red cum, Arita simply threw off her shoes and glided over at extremely fast speeds with her bare feet. Seeing that it was difficult to dodge, Rog aimed the vine whip in his hand at the top of the execution platform and shot it out like a grappling hook, bringing him to the top of the execution platform. Rog stood firm on the top of the execution platform and looked around. This is the scene that the Pirate King saw before his death. I'm afraid in history, apart from Roger, Luffy, Bucky, and Kabaji, I am the only one who has seen the scenery here. Do you think you can avoid my attack by going up there?" Arita waved the huge mace in her hand, aimed at the bottom of the execution platform and struck hard. The violent attack caused the entire execution platform to shake violently, and even the steel support could not withstand Alita's attack. In the subsequent attack, Arita specifically attacked the joints of the steel frame under the execution platform. Soon the execution platform will fall aside. "I will not be defeated by you." Rog pointed the vine whip in his hand at the judicial building nearby, shot out the vines and took himself there. Almost as soon as his feet left, the execution platform fell heavily to the side. This historical object that witnessed the execution of Pirate King Roger was destroyed. But a new, greater era is also coming. Rog, who was standing on top of the SEMA building, looked at Arita, with the vine whip in his hand pointed at her. Vine whip restrained. The vine whip in his hand was thrown at Arita, but it really slipped away from her body. Arita looked at Rog on top of the judicial building and said, "Men are so useless." The huge mace in Arita's hand was thrown violently towards the position where Rog was standing. 35xs. Rog dodged suddenly, and the spot he was standing on was shattered by the mace. Squirting red jet slides straight. What surprised Rog was that Arita's body was actually able to slide perpendicularly to the wall to the top of the judicial building. Arita took her huge mace and said to Rog, "Do you think I can't slide vertically?" "No, as a person with fruit abilities, it is impossible for him to only have that much power," Rog said. Arita looked at Rog charmingly, was silent for a while, and said, "Then what's going on with your ability? You use these two vines so flexibly." "I'll tell you the truth, madam. I am also a person with abilities, and this was transformed with my abilities," Rog said. "Well, no wonder, I don't think you only have this ability." "Then show me more," Arita said. "That's what I wanted to do," Roger said. Rog took out a branch as thick as a pigeon egg from his clothes. The branch was still very fresh. This branch has also been modified by Rog's plant fruit ability. Ironwood sword. The thick branch in Rog's hand grew rapidly, growing into a rough and broad heavy sword that was half a man tall. However, this wooden sword has a rough appearance, but it basically has the edge of an épée. Seeing the ironwood sword in Rog's hand, Arita nodded in admiration. "It is indeed extraordinary. Your ability is still very strong. It seems to be manipulating plants." "Thank you for your compliment, but we need to continue fighting," Rog said. Rog wielded his ironwood sword and clashed fiercely with Arita's mace. The mace hit the ironwood sword, but the ironwood sword was extremely hard and was not broken. "Well, the wood is very hard. Although it looks rough, it is indeed a good weapon," Arita said. Rog wielded the ironwood sword. This heavy sword turned from a thick branch was really heavy. Rog also fought hard. But Alita wielded her huge mace very easily. She waved the mace in her hand like a toy with just one hand. 35xs. After all, Arita is an expert in fighting, and Rog was soon suppressed. Rog looked at the flaming sunflower on his shoulder. Sunflower Sunflame. The sunflower on Rog's shoulder aimed at Arita and shot a powerful straight flame. The speed of the sun's flames is comparable to bullets, but Arita can also dodge the bullets. Arita blocked her body with her hands for a while, and waves of heat radiated from her body. "Huh, it feels like being in a steam furnace for several days," Arita breathed out. Although the slippery fruit was able to avoid the sun's flames, it avoided the direct attack of the flames, but Arita was still killed by the associated high temperature. But after all, the slippery fruit can still offset and dodge attacks to the greatest extent, as if other people's whole bodies have been burned to black. "It's still of little use," Rog said. "However, your attack is strong enough. My body suffered considerable damage just from the high temperature of the flames," Arita said. Rog looked at Arita. "I was afraid that only light could prevent her from hiding." At this time, the sky in Rog Town was already covered with dark clouds, and a storm was coming. Glancing at the sky, Rog thought that he might be able to use thunder and lightning. While Rogue and Arita, Luffy and Buggy were fighting fiercely. The rest of the Straw Hat Pirates, Zoro and Nami, arrived at the Judiciary Square where the execution platform was. Luffy said he wanted to see the execution platform. Nami said, "Well, where is this kid?" "There are so many people," Zoro said when he saw the people in the Judiciary Square. At this time, Sanji and Usopp were carrying a huge elephant-nosed fish. "Well, I don't know where Luffy went. I also want to quickly use the elephant trunk fish I selected to make delicious food for Miss Nami," Sanji said. "Captain Lou is missing. It seems that I, Captain Usopp, still need to take the lead," Usopp said. Zoro suddenly saw the chaos in front of the square and said, it seems that there is a fierce battle going on here. And you see, Luffy seems to be fighting an old acquaintance. Isn't that Bucky? Nami said after seeing it. Who is Bucky? Usopp and Sanji asked. Usopp pointed at Roger and Arita who were fighting on the judicial building, and asked, there are people fighting there too. And what happened to the famous Roger's execution platform? It seems to have fallen down. No matter what, we can't stay here for long. The storm is coming soon, Nami said quickly. Sauron looked around with sharp eyes and said, there seems to be an ambush around here. With the powerful combat intuition of a swordsman, Sauron felt that someone was setting up an ambush around the square. Whatever, we can't stay here for long. Then help Luffy kill these pirates quickly. Nami, you go first. Usopp, escort Miss Nami back to the Mary, Sanji said. Usopp was a little dissatisfied after hearing this and said, what? You are fighting here, how can I leave? I want. Look at the weather here, a storm is coming soon. The Mary is likely to be washed away by the coming big waves, Nami said quickly. As a brave maritime warrior, although I want to protect you, I have to escort Nami. After all, our supplies are still here. And the Mary needs someone to take care of it. Usopp immediately energetically brought the purchases with Nami. Items began to return to the Mary. Zoro and Sanji started walking towards Luffy and Buggy who were in the middle of a fight. In a building around the Justice Square, Colonel Smoker, with 2 cigars in his mouth, was directing the naval deployment around the square. Reporting to Colonel, the situation is getting a little weird now. Straw Hat Luffy and Clown Bucky are killing each other, a Navy soldier reported. Smoker used his binoculars to look at the situation in the Square of Justice. So that's what happened. Bucky and that Luffy got into a fight. It was a dog-eat-dog thing among pirates, huh? What happened at the Justice Building? Through the telescope, Smoker saw Rog and Arita fighting on top of the Justice Building. Who is this kid? Smoker said, feeling a little familiar at the same time. Ah, he is an employee of the orphanage in Rog Town. His name seems to be Rog, Dashki said from the side. Why is he fighting with the pirates? Forget it, listen to my order and wait for now. When the pirates are both injured, everyone will attack together, Smoker ordered. Yes, Colonel Smoker, the naval soldier conveyed Smoker's order. At the same time, Zoro and Sanji rushed towards the place where Luffy and Buggy were fighting. The Bucky pirates also had many henchmen, and they rushed towards the 2 men with machetes. These guys are really annoying. Zoro knocked down a group of pirates with a few swords. Sanji used his leg skills to kick away all the enemies in the way, and said, let's tell Luffy right away, stop fighting. What's he going to do with this clown with a big red nose? At this time, on the top of the judicial building, Rog and Arita were still fighting fiercely. However, Rog is already clearly at a disadvantage. The dark clouds in the sky were getting thicker and thicker, and the strong wind was blowing against their bodies. Oh, the weather is very bad. Do you want to continue fighting? If you want to be my servant, just say a word, Arita said. That's absolutely impossible, Rog refused decisively. I will convince you soon, Arita said, waving the huge mace. But at this time, the sky crackled, and a bolt of lightning fell from the sky. The thunder and lightning accurately hit the huge mace raised by Arita and penetrated her whole body. This lightning was so dazzling that Rog closed his eyes tightly not far away. When he opened his eyes, he saw Arita rolling off the top of the judicial building. Not even Arita could dodge this lightning strike. Sorry, madam. This is probably God's will, Rog complained before returning the huge ironwood sword in his hand to its original size of a thick branch. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 6. The huge lightning strike just now shocked everyone present. Even Bucky and Luffy looked in the direction of the lightning strike in shock. Ned. Arita, Bucky saw Arita falling down. Zoro and Sanji also passed through the level and defeated Bucky's minions. Luffy also took the opportunity to seize the opportunity. Okay, rubber, machine gun. A series of rubber telescopic fists hit Bucky's body. Bucky couldn't escape even if he split his body. Soon Bucky fell to the ground with a bruised nose and a swollen face. His body quickly regrouped, and as soon as he stood up, he was knocked to the ground by Luffy's head-on punch. Today, I'm going to blow you away again. Bucky tried to stand up again. Rubber, rocket launcher. Luffy stretched his hands behind him for a long time and then suddenly hit Bucky in front of him. Wow, with a scream, Bucky was knocked away by Luffy again. Zoro and Sanji also eliminated Bucky's minions and joined Luffy. Sanji looked at the mess around him and said, "You kid really fights wherever you go. Huh. Isn't this beautiful woman lying on the ground the beauty I've seen before?" Sanji immediately rushed to Arita, who was knocked to the ground by lightning, and watched carefully. "You and Bucky are really at odds with each other," Zoro said to Luffy. "This time, someone saved me. Baki trapped me up there just now." He was there. Luffy looked at Rog above the Justice Building. Roger now comes down from the Justice Building with a cane whip. When he landed on the ground, he saw Luffy walking in front of him. "Hey, thank you for saving me just now," Luffy said in a simple voice. "It's nothing. When the road is rough, draw your sword to help," Rog said. "Vine, do you use this to fight?" Sauron asked when he saw the vine whip in Rog's hand. "Wow, you are so good with vines," Luffy admired Rogue. "This is a plant I transformed with my devil fruit ability. It can still fight," Rog said. Luffy thought for a moment and then asked, "What's your name?" "My name is Rog, and I am Rog from Rog Town." "Are you Monkey D. Luffy?" Rog said. "Roger, it's easy to remember." Hee, nice to meet you, Rog," Luffy said with a smile. At this time, Colonel Smoker, who was around the Judiciary Square, had already observed everything. "It seems that their victory has been decided. Attack now and capture all the pirates," Smoker gave the order. "Yes, Colonel," the Navy soldier quickly ordered. Dashki on the side held timely rein in his hand and said, "It turns out that he is Roronoa Zoro. I must take back the sword in his hand." Smoker clenched his fists and said, "Let's go, Dashki." Smoker and Dusky walked out of the building together and headed to the Judiciary Square. In the Judiciary Square, the rain in the sky became heavier and heavier. Zoro said to Luffy, "Luffy, it's better to leave quickly." "Ah, I want to talk to Rog more." Luffy looked reluctant. At this moment, suddenly a large number of people appeared around the square. Groups of Navy soldiers wearing white clothes, with strong arms, and holding guns surrounded the square. "It doesn't look good. There is a Navy ambushing here," Zoro said while holding the word Wado written on his waist. He immediately turned to look at Sanji, but shouted in surprise, "Sanji! What are you doing?" Full of frustration, Sanji knelt down to look at Alita, who was injured by lightning, and said in a tearful voice, "Beautiful sister, you must have been injured by the lightning just now." Fortunately, it was not fatal. Navy soldiers quickly surrounded the square. The Navy in Rogtown are all elite soldiers from the Navy headquarters, and Smog has strict military discipline, so these Navy are well trained and surround the square airtightly. "It's bad now, we need to break through forcefully," Zoro said. From the surrounding Navy, two people suddenly walked out. One is the burly Colonel Smoker, and the other is the slender Navy Sergeant Dusky. Smoker's eyes swept over everyone present, while Dashki stared at Sauron, Monkey D. Luffy, and the members of the pirate group. "If you dare to set foot on the land of Rogtown today, you must want to go to the Grand Line. But here, in the name of Captain Smokey Hunter Smoker of the Navy headquarters, we will arrest you all, Smoker said in a voice full of majesty. Luffy looked at Smoker and said innocently, Smorg. You want to catch us all, but we will escape. Asshole, you have never seen the power of Colonel Smoker, and Navy Sergeant scolded. Smoker gave him a look, and he immediately shut up. None of you can escape anyway, Smoker said. The current situation is that a breakout must face a fierce battle. Luffy, Zoro, Sanji and Rog are all preparing to break out. Rog was thinking about how to break out at this time. The opponent was Smoker, who was really powerful now. At this time, Luffy turned to Rog and said, Rog, come with us. Rog looked at Luffy, although he actually had the intention to hang out with Luffy. But it's not easy for me to say it. It's better this way. But now we still have to break through the siege of Smoker and the Navy. Dasky also said to Smoker, Colonel, please give Roronoa to me. Smoker glared at her and said, this is not a joke. The other party is. I know, I will definitely try my best, Dashki said. Okay, I understand. Smoker looked at the others again. Smoker begins to use the power of his devil fruit, preparing to attack. I'll let you taste the power of the Smoker Hunter right away. At this moment, the flaming sunflower on Rog's shoulder, who was standing next to Luffy, suddenly shot a powerful beam of sunlight towards Smoker. Ah, Smoker was caught off guard. He never thought that such a powerful flame could be shot out of a sunflower. Smoker has the smoke fruit ability, but the flames can resist the smoke, and Smoker was successfully hit without guarding against it. Everyone, hurry up and break out, Rog said. At the same time Roger took out a corn. After looking at it, Luffy said happily, corn? I want to eat it, but it's raw. Rog's corn is also a plant that has been modified to produce fruit. Glory corn, the corn was raised above Rog's head, and then the corn kernels quickly scattered around. Each corn kernel explodes like popcorn, but shines like a flash bomb when it explodes in the air. For a time, the Navy in the square was disturbed by the shining light. Smoker had just come back to his senses after being hit by the sun's flames. When he looked around, he saw that Luffy and others were nowhere to be seen. Colonel, Dusky said quickly to Smoker. I'm fine. Everyone obeys the order and pursue Luffy and his gang with all their strength. Smoker was also a little troubled because he was actually fooled. Bring me my motorcycle, Smoker said to a nearby marine. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 7. Just when Rogtown was already in an uproar. Net. On the streets of Rogtown, a figure bathed in the pouring rain and walked like a ghost. Pirates? That's not bad. At the same time, Nami and Usopp carried the purchased goods together and finally ran to the side of the Golden Melee. At this time, the weather was already blowing with strong winds and pouring rain. Beside the Golden Mary, Machi, the trainer of the Bucky Pirates, was here with his lion. Damn it! Failed again, matches can't work. It happened to rain heavily at this time, Machi said, very distressed. The match in his hand was completely soaked and unusable. The lion on the side was still roaring dissatisfiedly. It wanted to eat very much. Nami and Usopp arrived and were shocked to find Machi and the lion. Nami saw Machi next to the Mary and said, Machi, a member of the Bucky Pirates. He is actually here. Leave it to me. Usopp took out the slingshot. Must kill Metal Star. The metal ball fired by Usopp hit Machi in the back of the head. After Machi was hit, he immediately lost consciousness and fell to the ground. Good job, Usopp, Nami immediately praised. But the expressions on their faces immediately froze. Machi's lion looked at the two of them, his eyes full of desire for prey, and his saliva was drooling. I haven't dealt with lions here yet. In a panic, Usopp could only take out a fresh egg. Egg star, a fresh egg was shot out by Usopp. In haste, the egg shot onto the ground next to the lion. The hungry lion smelled the egg and quickly lay down and licked the broken egg happily with his tongue. "Okay, get on the boat now," Nami said. Nami and Usopp quickly boarded the Golden Mary together. Luffy, Rog, Zoro and Sanji, who were quickly breaking out of the encirclement, ran non-stop through the streets of Rogtown. "Hurry up. The navy behind them is really chasing after them. I really want to stop fighting with them," Luffy said as he ran. "Leave this to me," Rog said. Rog turned around and pointed his sleeve towards the middle of the house on the street. Under Rog's control, the vine whip quickly entangled between the two houses, quickly forming a large net that was not too dense but could block the opponent. "This can delay them for some time," Rog said after using the vine whip. Without Rog's fruit ability, the vine whip will last for a while before returning to its original state. But it was enough to block the large number of naval soldiers chasing after him. And now it's raining heavily in the sky, so the Navy's firearms are damp and unable to shoot. "Roger, your plants are very interesting," Luffy said to Rog, full of curiosity. "This is a plant modified by devil fruit power, and it has very special abilities," Rog said. "So you are also a fruit user," Luffy said with sudden realization. "Well, I am a plant fruit user. I can control plant growth and transform plants," Rog said. "Plant fruit," Luffy, Zoro and Sanji all said strangely. Luffy looked at Rog and said, "What a rare fruit. Then you are considered a vegetable." "I am a person with the ability of the rubber fruit, so I am considered a rubber man." Luffy's eyes suddenly lit up and he said, "Your ability is really interesting, so I want to recruit you even more." Sanji ran aside and said, "You have a very rare ability and can serve as a gardener on the ship. By the way, I need a lot of ingredients, you can help make them grow." Rog saw that Luffy and the others were already interested in getting him to join the gang, but he didn't expect it to be so easy. Ah, Zoro suddenly saw a figure that he really didn't want to see blocking the way ahead. A short-haired girl holding a samurai sword stood in front of him. It was Dashki. "Wow, who is this beauty?" Sanji's eyes were suddenly filled with admiration. Zoro gritted his teeth when he saw it. "Roronoa Zoro!" Dashki suddenly shouted loudly. "I didn't expect that you are Roronoa, and you are also a pirate. I must take back the Wado Ujiman in your hand. A villain like you must not be equipped with such a famous sword." "Zoran, what did you do to that girl?" Sanji shouted to Zoro. Zoro rushed in front of Dusky and said, "I didn't expect you to be a marine." The Hideo Yizawan in his hand has been pulled out, and he is facing off against Dashki's Gu. "This guy actually attacked a lady." Sanji was so angry that he wanted to hold Zoro back. "This is a matter between me and Roronoa, please don't interfere with others," Dusky said while fighting Zoro. "Let's go," Zoro said while waving his katana. Luffy, Roger, and Sanji quickly continued on their way. "Okay, you forced me. I'm going to show my true skills," Zoro said. "It's what you asked for, come on," Dashki said. Luffy, Rog and Sanji only heard the sound of samurai swords clashing behind them, which continued to fade away. After running for a while, there was a mechanical sound in front of me. "Huh," Luffy said. "What is that?" Sanji asked when he saw it. In the midst of the smoke, a heavy motorcycle making a loud noise rushed towards the three people driven by Colonel Smoker. Smoker uses his smoky feet to drive the heavy Byaro motorcycle. "Straw Hat Luffy, don't even try to escape here." Smoker suddenly turned the heavy motorcycle sideways and got off the car. They were about to arrive at the port, but the way ahead was blocked by this burly and scary man. Smoker looked at the three of them with majestic eyes and said, "I swear here in the name of Captain of the Navy Headquarters and Smoker Hunter, I will not let you leave here alone." Rog could clearly feel the overwhelming momentum coming from Smoker at this moment. "Hey, we are going to the Grand Line. Please don't block the way," Luffy said. Smoker looked at the Straw Hat Boy, who was not afraid of tigers as a newborn, and said, "Then defeat me first." Rubber pistol. Luffy's hand quickly stretched out and punched Smoker's body. But after being hit, it was as if it had passed through the body, and the parts of Smoker's body turned into smoke. "It's my turn." Smoker's hands quickly turned into smoke, turning into two clouds of smoke and grabbing at Luffy. Net. Luffy's body was quickly surrounded by smoke, and then he was grabbed hard. "Ah!" Luffy shouted in pain. Sanji was also anxious and quickly kicked Smoker in the head. "What?" Smoker's head turned into smoke. "Don't make trouble, little guy." White fist. Smoker hit Sanji with one hand and knocked Sanji away. Rog aimed the flaming sunflower on his shoulder at Smoker. Now the flaming sunflower gathered energy to launch a super powerful attack on Smoker. Flames still have some restraint on smoke. Sunshine and flames. A straight line of flame shot towards Smoker. Smoker's body quickly turned into smoke after being hit, and then Luffy was caught and thrown away. Before Rog could continue to prepare for the attack, his body was suddenly caught. After the smoke disappeared, Smoker took shape behind him again. "Is this what you rely on to attack?" Smoker grabbed the flaming sunflower on Rog's shoulder and crushed it. The other hand lifted Roger up. Smoker and Rog looked at each other. Rog had to admit in his heart that the strong man in front of him possessed an irresistible majesty. "Your name seems to be Rog, and you are from the orphanage, right?" Smoker asked. "Then why did you help the pirates?" Smoker asked. "I just want to," Rog said. Smoker threw Rog away. "I have no time to care about you." Smoker immediately turned his attention to Luffy. Rubber, rocket launcher. At this time, Luffy hit Smoker's body with both arms. Similarly, Smoker turned into smoke and quickly flew behind Luffy and grabbed him. Luffy was pushed hard to the ground. When Rog saw this, he immediately swung the vine whip in his sleeve at Luffy. Wanted to drag him away. "Don't even think about it." Smoker grabbed Luffy tightly, and Luffy's body was stretched out by the rubber. But Rog tried his best to suck the milk, but Smoker didn't move at all. "You and Luffy are both going to end up here." Smoker prepared to continue attacking. Suddenly, when everyone present was in disbelief, a man in a cloak grabbed Smoker's wrist and forced him to let go of Luffy. Luffy was dragged away by Roger. "Is it you?" Smoker was shocked when he saw the face of the cloaked man. "The government wants your head all the time," Smoker said. The cloaked man remained silent, but turned his head to Rog and Luffy. "Those who have dreams also have their friends. In the end, they will all be on a long journey, rain or shine. But I would like to thank you on behalf of Luffy." Rog looked at this man. This man was the revolutionary Long. The dragon turned his gaze to the sky. "The world will slowly wait for our answers." Then an astonishing gust of wind blew, blowing almost across the entire town of Rog. Rogue, Luffy, Sanji and others were all blown away. Even the Golden Mary on the beach was affected. The pirate ship that was already shaking in the storm became even more violent. "What's going on? How come there is such a huge wind?" Usopp asked in surprise. After the strong wind caused by the tornado, everything returned to an ordinary storm. At this time, Roger, Luffy, Sanji and Zoro got up from the ground and found that they were already at the port. "What's going on?" Zoro looked around. Sanji was also sharp-eyed and directly saw the Mary, which had been away from the coast for a while. "Look, our ship," Sanji said. Luffy was also happy to see the Mary, and then looked at Roger beside him. "Roger, are you willing to go to sea with us?" Luffy asked solemnly. "Anyway, if you help us, that monster will definitely not let you go," Zoro said. "Come with us, you can help me get some ingredients," Sanji said. Rog saw that Luffy and the others had invited him like this, and it was exactly what he wanted. "Okay, everyone. Let's go," Rog said. Hearing this, Luffy looked happy and said, Okay, let's go. Let's go to the Grand Line together. Luffy then ran to a nearby wooden pole, where he began to stretch his body. I have a bad feeling, Sanji said. Luffy, who was stretched to an exaggerated degree, bounced towards Rog, Sanji, and Zoro. Wow! Amidst the screams of the four people, they flew towards the Mary together. It finally hit the Mary's sail and fell to the deck. Nami saw the four people back on the boat and said, "Everyone is back, and we have an extra partner." Usopp also saw Rog and said, "It seems to be the man fighting on the top of the building in the square." "Wow, I'm finally back." Luffy raised his hands and cheered. "This is our new partner, named Rog," Luffy introduced. Rog stood up from the deck and said politely to Nami and Usopp, "My name is Rog. It's our first time meeting you. Please take care of me." "Well, hello," Nami said. "I have a new partner. Well, I am a brave sea warrior. Every time the Straw Hat Pirates defeat powerful enemies under my wise command. Since you are here, tell me what your abilities are." "You said. I'm good at controlling plants, so I can be considered a horticulturist for the time being," Rog said. Then Roger saw 3 orange trees on the Mary. "Let me use these 3 orange trees as a demonstration," Rog said. Nami looked at the orange trees and said, "Okay, don't damage them if they're not enough." Rog arrived at one of the orange trees and used the plant fruit ability. This orange tree had been picked before, and what was left were some very green, unripe oranges. Roger's hands worked on the orange tree for a while, and the unripe oranges quickly turned from green to orange. Even some of the locations that had been picked blossomed again and grew oranges. Nami had already walked to Rog's side and looked at these oranges in surprise. "It's amazing," Nami said. Usopp also walked up to Rog, patted Rog's shoulder nonchalantly and said, "Well done, this is of great use on the ship." "Okay, Rog. I am a brave sea warrior. I ask you to stay in Usopp's name." "Congratulations, Rog," Luffy's voice suddenly sounded. "From today on, you will be a member of the Straw Hat Pirates." Luffy and Rog looked directly at each other and said solemnly, "Well, since the captain said so, you can go on adventures with everyone with peace of mind," Zoro said. "Don't forget to grow more of the ingredients I choose," Sanji said. "Well, there is one more person. He is also a gardener, which is good," Nami said. "Haha, Usopp has one more friend," Usopp said boldly. Rog looked at the members of the pirate group and walked among them. "From now on, Rog will share hardships with everyone and move forward into the distance," Rog said firmly. At the same time, on the top of the house in the port of Rog Town, the dragon wore a cloak and watched the journey of the Mary in the wind and rain. "Go for it if that's the way you are." Smoker was on the ground not far away, watching the Mary's journey. "Long, why do you want to help them?" Smoker said. The dragon did not look at him and continued to watch the Mary sail away. "What can be done to stop a group of people chasing their dreams from setting sail?" After Long said these words, his figure disappeared like a ghost. Smoker looked at the sea again. "Prepare my ships to pursue them." "Enter the Grand Line," Smoker ordered. Dashki on the side quickly said, "I want to go too." "Sir, I want to hunt down the pirate hunter Rorano." "But Colonel Smoker, you are the commander stationed here," a naval soldier said quickly. "Just tell them, stop dictating to me," Smoker said without any doubt. Bucky, Arita, and others who had been defeated by Luffy and Rog before also took advantage of the chaos and fled to the ship near the seaside. "What? Captain Bucky. Enter the Grand Line." Bucky looked sinister and said, "Yes, in order to eliminate the Rubber Man and the boy who can use plants to attack, we have to enter the nostalgic Great Route." The Golden Melee, which was sailing westward, was bumping in a violent storm. "What's going on?" Usopp asked. There was a lighthouse faintly ahead, emitting a bright light. Nami walked to the bow of the ship and looked at the light and the lighthouse. That is the navigation light, the entrance to the great route. Everyone looked at each other, and a great legend was about to begin. Sanji brought a wooden barrel and said, "Okay, let's have a ceremony of sailing into the Grand Line." It can also be regarded as a welcome ceremony for Rog. Sanji was the first to put his feet on the barrel and said, "I want to find the blue sea." Luffy put his feet on the barrel and said, "I want to become the Pirate King." Sauron put his feet on the barrel and said, "I want to become the world's best swordsman." Nami also put her feet on the barrel and said, "I want to draw all the world maps." Usopp emotionally put his feet on the barrel and said, "I want to become a brave sea warrior." There are already 5 people's feet on the barrel. Rog also put his feet on the barrel and said, "I'm going to experience a great adventure." Sanji took the barrel away, pointed it in the direction of the Grand Line, and kicked it hard. "Let's go. Go to the Grand Line." Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 8. The Golden Mary carried everyone on the ocean near the entrance of the Great Line. Rog also introduced some of his origins to Luffy and others in more detail. "Just like this, I was born an orphan. Although I don't have a family, I will treat you all as my closest relatives from now on," Rog said to Luffy and others in the cabin. "Well, Rog. Everyone is best together," Luffy said kindly. Rog could really feel what a kind person Luffy was. As long as he is dating you, he is absolutely sincere. The others, Zoro, Sanji, Nami, and Usopp have different personalities, but they all share the incomparable loyalty to friendship. Since my ability is suitable for being a gardener, I will definitely try my best to help everyone do everything. Whether it is transforming some plants into tools or promoting the growth of suitable food, I will work hard. Rog said to Luffy and others. Nami picked up the oranges produced by the orange tree in her hand and said while eating, "Okay, you can eat the orange trees every day from now on. You don't have to worry about there being no fresh fruit on the ship." Sanji drank a cup of black tea and said, "Well, I need your help to promote the growth of many ingredients. Since you can control the growth of plants, that's great. There is no shortage of vegetarian dishes on the ship, and they are available in every season. Always available. Also, the cooking I made is pretty good, although it's a bit too simple as the first meal to welcome you." Roger used a spoon to scoop a plate of chicken soup on the table in front of him into his mouth. It was really delicious. Sanji is indeed a superb chef. Well, it's really unparalleled deliciousness. A simple chicken soup is so delicious. I'm so happy to be able to eat Sanji's cooking here every day from now on. Rog praised it not only out of politeness, but also from the bottom of his heart. 35xs. As long as you like it, Sanji said with a smile. Luffy had already eaten several plates of chicken soup, and he finished a glass of orange juice made from oranges picked from Nami's orange trees. "Well, Nami. Now that we have passed the lighthouse, how can we officially enter the Grand Line?" Luffy asked, touching his lips. Nami finished chewing the orange and said, "This is what I want to say." Nami then stood up and placed a navigation map on the table. "Look, the entrance to the Grand Line is a mountain." Everyone present exclaimed, "Mountain? Yes. Look here." The navigation light is indeed erected on the upside-down mountain in the Red Earth continent. On the map, if you continue sailing west from Rogtown, you will have to pass a mountain range. How could it be like this? Then we are going to hit this mountain range, Usopp said after looking at the map. Nami corrected, "You see there is a canal here." "Nonsense, there are canal boats and they won't go up," Usopp said. "But that's how it is drawn on the picture," Nami said. Zoro looked suspicious and said, "There is nothing wrong with this map. It must have been obtained from Bucky. Usopp is at the helm at this time. Why are you working so hard? The current seems to be very strong." Usopp struggled to control the rudder of the Mary. Nami was stunned for a moment, then looked at the map carefully and said, "It seems that the currents from the four seas converge on the mountains here, generating huge propulsion, so ships enter through these four channels, and then enter the Grand Route." Everyone understood the problem. But Upside Down Mountain is a winter island, and the current will hit it and sink to the bottom of the sea. The 35XS Golden Merly will be smashed into pieces, so it must enter the entrance. "Well, I'll go out and take a look," Nami said immediately. Then she walked out of the cabin, followed by Luffy and the others. Rog walked to Usopp's side and said, "Let me help you." "Just in time, the current seems to be strengthening now," Usopp said. Rog knew very well that the rudder seemed to have been broken once. "So be careful." Luffy rode on the sheep's head carving on the front of the Mary, looking up, down, left and right at the surrounding scenery. A majestic continent ahead blocked the Mary's path. The mainland towers into the clouds, and combined with the storm in the sky, it can be said to be extremely spectacular. This is the famous Red Earth continent. Zoro took out his telescope and looked. "I saw a gap in the sea, a river of water flowing up the mountain. It's shocking, the ocean is literally climbing. I saw huge currents carrying sea water from the sea to the slopes of the mountains." Nami said to Usopp and Rog at the helm, "Pay attention to the helm." Rog paid special attention to the helm at this time and said, "Usopp, slow down." Usopp is impatient, but he slowly takes control of the situation. The Golden Melly stabilized its hull and headed towards the entrance. "Turn right rudder." Rogue and Usopp turned the ship's rudder to the right with great difficulty. But the current is really exaggerated. The entrance only allows one sailing ship that is not too exaggerated to pass through, so this is a very dangerous place. "Usopp, I need to go out now. Could you please help me?" Rog said. Sanji was outside the cabin and walked in to help Usopp at the helm. Rog walked to the bow of the Melly, where he aimed the vine whip at the huge door frame at the front entrance. There is a row of huge door frames made of rock at the front entrance. Vine whip. The vine whip hit the first huge door frame and tightly wrapped around the top of the door frame. Rog tied the tail of the vine whip to the sheep's head carving on the Mary. After looking at it, Zoro asked, "Can this be done with vines?" "Absolutely no problem, this vine is comparable to an iron chain," Rog said. With this vine whip tied to the huge door frame, the Melee driving suddenly became much better. The ship finally approached the entrance amid the bumps and drifts. After entering the entrance, the Melee drove more smoothly, and the sea current pushed the Melee upwards in a straight line. Rog took back the vine whip. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Finally in. All 6 people cheered on the deck. The front of the Melee tilted upward, moving straight forward like a carp jumping over a dragon's gate. Roger stood near the bow of the ship and looked at the scenery ahead. Such spectacular views are truly unforgettable. The adventures of myself and Luffy also soared into the sky, entering a new realm with vast horizons. There were still stormy clouds in the sky, but as they continued to march, they gradually came closer to the light. Ahead, there are clouds. After traveling violently for a while, the Melee got into the clouds. There were clouds and mist all around, but the Melee was still moving forward. "It's like ascending to heaven," Rog said with emotion. Luffy patted Rog on the shoulder and said, "Oh, the Grand Line is just ahead." The Mary finally broke through the clouds and headed straight for the top of Upside Down Mountain. Looking down, there are endless clouds, and the Melee seems to be sailing towards the sky. The canal leading up to the top of the mountain makes even the sea water shine like diamonds due to the sunlight. Seeing that the Melee was about to reach the top of the mountain, under the impact of the violent currents, the Melee was thrown into the sky mixed with countless waves, like diamonds flying in the sky. "Wow," everyone exclaimed for a while. At this moment, the Melee was on top of Upside Down Mountain, and the spectacular scenery all around was unobstructed. The Melee is above the Upside Down Mountain, surrounded by an endless sea of clouds below. 4 huge canals flow from the top of Upside Down Mountain to the top of the mountain. There is another one that brings the sea water gathered by the 4 ocean currents to flow downward again. The Mary quickly fell into the canal downwards. There was a splash of waves, and the Melly slid down the downward canal quickly. This speed is much faster than the previous climb. Look ahead at the rapid downward direction. Everyone on board the Mary was thinking about his or her goals. Zoro looked ahead, thinking my hawk was here. Sanji looked ahead, thinking that this was where the blue sea was. Usopp looked forward, thinking this was proof of the great sea warrior. Nami looked forward, thinking that there were endless maps waiting for her to draw. Luffy looked ahead, thinking this was the place to become the Pirate King. Rog looked ahead, thinking that this was a great adventure for him and a path to experience that would make him stronger. The Mary moves forward, carrying everyone's dreams. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 9. The Mary entered the clouds again. The clouds and mist surrounding the net drifted past everyone. Rog also knew that a whale as huge as an island was about to appear ahead. Moreover, besides that, I still need more plant-modified weapons on hand. Therefore, more plants need to be transformed into weapons. The ability to grow your own plant fruits can also be further developed. An important benefit of joining the Straw Hat Pirates is that you can experience yourself in powerful battles for a long time. And because you know the basic plot, you can avoid some dangers. While Rog was thinking, suddenly a dull and distant voice came. Huh? What's the sound? Zoro said. This seems to be the sound of some kind of animal. Could it be a whale? Nami said. Usopp put on one of his lenses and looked forward. Sanji on the mast also said, Nami, there is a mountain ahead. Even though the clouds are shrouded in fog, another huge black object can still be seen looming in front. As the Mary speed became faster and faster, the clouds and fog began to dissipate. Everyone was stunned by the huge object in front of them. They saw a giant black whale that was as big as an island, looking up to the sky and roaring. Everyone on board the Plum Blossom was extremely shocked when they saw it. This huge black whale blocked the way downhill. The long sound still emanates from the whale's mouth, as if it is calling some companion. Such a whale as huge as a mountain, Usopp exclaimed. Wait, I haven't seen its eyes yet, Sanji said. It may not have discovered us yet, Nami said. Zoro pointed to the left side in front and said, there is a gap on the left, you can rush through. No, it's too fast to change direction, Usopp said. At this critical moment, Rog said, can we use the cannon in front? What? But the whale is in front, Nami said. There is a giant whale in front of us, and if we offend it, we will be in trouble. Luffy's eyes lit up and he said, I'll try. After saying that, he quickly rushed into the cabin and reached the cannon. Just when it was about to hit the black whale, the cannon in front of the Mary fired suddenly. With the reaction force of the cannon, the Mary finally stopped. Although it stopped at the critical moment, everyone on the ship, except Rogue, Nami, Zoro, Sanji, and Usopp, all had their mouths opened in surprise. But with the last bit of energy left, the Mary crashed hard. Net. The Mary's sheep-headed bow was knocked off, and Luffy, who was coming out of the cabin, was immediately stunned. My first-class seat. Luffy rushed to the deck angrily and looked at the broken bow of the sheep's head. Everyone else had just recovered from the panic. Run away quickly, run away now, Sauron shouted. Sanji, Usopp, Rogue, Zoro and Nami all picked up the oars and started rowing hard. At this time, the giant whale continued to make earth-shattering noises from its mouth, which was deafening. At this time, Luffy looked at the giant black whale with great hatred. At this time, the Meli had already arrived at the huge eye on the side of the giant whale. This huge eye is more than 10 times the size of the Mary. Luffy looked into the whale's eyes filled with hatred. You ruined my first-class seat. Luffy hit the whale's giant eye with one shot of his rubber pistol. Nami and everyone else looked at Luffy in shock. Fool! Except for Rog, everyone else scolded Luffy in unison. At the same time, the whale's giant eyes were still intact, but the giant eyes looked at the Mary below. The giant whale quickly lowered its huge mouth from its original roar to the sky. That huge mouth swallowed an astonishing amount of sea water. Escape from here quickly. But when the whale drank the sea water, it almost formed a whirlpool. The Mary was also involved. Rog and others watched helplessly as this island-like whale swallowed the ship under its feet and the endless sea water. Suddenly everything was turned upside down, and Luffy quickly used his rubber ability to escape. Rogue, Nami, Zoro, Sanji, and Usopp were swallowed together on the Mary. Passed through the mouth, throat, and finally the stomach. After Luffy used his rubber power to escape to the whale's back, he finally discovered a door on the whale's back after a while of frustration. The whale began to sink and Luffy got through the door. Roger and others took the Meli and ended up entering the whale's stomach. It's not that it's extremely dark here, but it's very bright. And there are blue skies and white clouds. It's just that the surrounding water is green. What's even more surprising is that there are actually 2 small islands ahead. One of them has tall coconut trees, and the other has a very simple house. What's going on? Were we swallowed by a whale? Sanji said. Is this all a dream? Saran asked. Rog pointed to the surrounding whale stomachs and said, I'm not dreaming. Look at the sky here. Whether it's white clouds or seabirds, they are all painted. So we are really in the whale's stomach, Usopp said. Several people looked at everything around them. The seabirds and white clouds were all still, and if they looked closely, they were indeed painted on them. While several people were thinking, suddenly there was a sound of sea water surging in front of them, and a huge squid rushed out from the sea water below. King Squid, Nami and Usopp immediately screamed. Rog, Zoro, and Sanji were all in a battle-ready posture. At this moment, 3 harpoons suddenly penetrated the huge body of the giant squid. The fire of life of the giant squid was extinguished and it fell backward into the sea water. Now Roger and the others could clearly see that 3 harpoons had been fired from the open door of the cabin. And he was pulled in by an unknown figure. Someone is out there, Usopp said. Is he hunting or saving us? Zoro said. I think it's the former, Rog said. Roger knew that this person was the ship's doctor on Roger's ship. The people in the room came out, with old faces and strange petal-like hair. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 10. Flowers, Sanji said. Ned. The face of this old man is indeed very strange. Instead of hair, there are flowers on his head. The old man then looked at everyone on the Meli with extremely strange eyes. Everyone felt that just the oppressive look in his eyes made them feel uncomfortable. Just when everyone thought the old man was going to say something, the old man suddenly sat leisurely on a chair under the coconut tree. You should say something, Sanji said angrily. The old man was still sitting on the chair silently, just looking at the Mary. Hey, if you want to fight. We have cannons, Usopp said. Forget it, people will die, the old man said after a long time. You're talking about you, Sanji roared in anger. Zoro blocked Sanji at this time and said, let me do it. Who are you, sir? What is this place? When you ask the other party, you need to state your name first to be polite, right? The old man added. Well, it seems like this, Zoro said. My name is Kurikas, and I am the guardian of the Twin Capes Lighthouse. I am now 71 years old, and my blood type is AB. Before Zoro could introduce himself, he said it himself. Can I chop him to death? Zoro was shaking with anger. Rog stepped forward at this time and said, Uncle Kurikas, please ask. This net is in the stomach of the whale, so where is the exit? Kurikas and Rog looked at each other for a while and said, can you tell me the exit? Where is the exit? Kurikas pointed to a huge metal door in the distance. There is actually a metal gate in the stomach of this huge whale. Nami was full of puzzlement and said, there is such a huge stomach mural here, and there is such a metal gate in the whale's stomach. This is my vacation spot. I don't know how long it took me to paint all the pictures on my stomach, Kurikas suddenly said. Usopp immediately shouted, you are too leisurely and elegant. Sanji said at this time, forget it, let's get out of here quickly. Suddenly, there was a startling jolt in the whale's stomach. What's going on? Usopp asked in surprise. Look, that island is not an island, it's a ship. It's made of iron, Zoro said. This is the stomach of a whale. The sea water is a mixture of stomach acid and sea water. The iron will not dissolve. But the wooden boat cannot stay for too long, Rog said while looking at the green sea of stomach acid around him. Then let's leave quickly. Huh. Why haven't I seen Luffy yet? Usopp said. At this time, Kurikas on the small island said, he's doing it again. Rab hit the red earth continent with its head. Then Kurikas jumped into the ocean of stomach acid and swam downward. 35xs. What? Isn't he afraid of stomach acid? Sanji said. Kurikas swam to the metal gate and began climbing the ladder. At the same time, two figures infiltrated inside the whale holding modified cannons. Well, SS Wednesday. This is the door. The old man is here. Kill him, and this whale will belong to us, a man wearing a crown said. Beside him was a very beautiful girl with blue hair. Yes, 9. Once this whale is captured, our town will be able to survive for a long time, the blue-haired girl said. 9. Although he is wearing a crown, he looks funny. On the contrary, SS Wednesday's eyebrows were filled with an aristocratic temperament. The two were about to enter the whale's stomach behind the door, when suddenly a figure flew over. It was Luffy, who had dived into the whale. The three men broke through the metal door while screaming together and rushed into the whale's stomach. Rog and others who were on the Mary saw this scene. It's Luffy. There are two more weirdos, Usopp said. You are all here, help me quickly, Luffy shouted. Rogue shot out a vine whip and caught Luffy. Then, under the influence of the vine whip, Luffy returned to the ship. The other two weirdos swam up again after falling into the water. They also climbed onto the Mary in embarrassment. Rog looked at these two people. One of them was the blue-haired SS Wednesday, the Princess of Alabasta, Neferuta Levi. Ahemwaiwei, or SS Wednesday, raised her head and looked at everyone. Sanji's face immediately became flirtatious. Anyway, I rescued you all, so who are you? Rog asked. Sanji quickly moved to Vivi's side. 9. These people are pirates, Wei said to the man wearing the crown. It's a pirate, but it's Wednesday. Let's talk to them and it should be fine, the man wearing the crown said. Suddenly, Kurikas shouted loudly, you villains, do you want me to say it again? As long as I am still breathing, you can't touch Rab. Wei and Ju raised the cannons in their hands. If that's the case, then. At this time, Rog used a vine whip to tie up the two of them. What are you doing? 9 asked. If you attack here, you will anger this whale, Rog said. Zoro and Usopp looked at each other and said, that's right. It's too dangerous here. Maybe if this whale gets hurt and goes crazy, the whole place will be turned upside down. Seeing that the two were subdued, Kurikas hurried to the door and headed to the room where Rab was given a sedative. Sanji was now furious and said to Rog, how can you treat a lady like this? Then please throw away their weapons, Rog said. Zoro and Usopp threw away their cannons, and Rog released them. Kurikas also gave Rab a sedative, and the huge whale became quiet again. Kurikis returned to the island. Luffy, Roger and others all listened to the old man's story. You two are so determined to give up, and the people in that town. Kurikis scolded the two of them. Just by capturing the rabbi, their town would have food for a few years, Kurikis said. Rab is the name of this whale, Rog said. Kurikis nodded and said, Rabu is only found in the Western Sea and is the largest island whale in the world. The reason why Rab kept banging his head on the Red Earth continent was because he was waiting for a group of pirates. At this point, Kurikis's voice became full of aftertaste. 50 years ago, I was the lighthouse keeper of Twin Points. At that time, a group of bold pirates suddenly came down from the upside-down mountain. They also brought a young island whale. It was Rab. Because of the failure of the ship, I stayed here for a few months. I became friends with them. But they eventually wanted to go to the Grand Line. Because it was too dangerous, they gave Rab to me to help take care of it. 50 years, Usopp said in surprise. Yes, 50 years. Rab still has to wait.